future when we have the Matrix, even Neo,
in the
like
future,
when he got programmed, they'd shove it in and they'd upload you. He still had to practice it before he broke through to really be in Neo.
Nigel, I'm sure that you've probably in your plethora of the working era that you might have had some couple of good mentors that you've learned some wonderful shortcuts and paths through the era. It just
100%, 100%. And your story resonates deeply because mine was similar. For even though it wasn't the age of that time, I was working in very high level jobs well before I had my degree. I mean, I went back and got it afterwards, but right out of high school, and a couple, semesters of college, I was already working at some of the biggest firms in the world, handling some of the biggest technology in the world. And similar to you getting your card, it dawned on me that I was in the wrong place when I went on a job interview and the person literally said, there's no way you could know what you say you know and be making as little as you're making. That was what changed it for me. And meeting someone who was a consultant, and I couldn't understand how they were making that much money. And they explained it to me. They actually took me aside and explained it to me. And if they didn't, it wouldn't matter. If you don't know something exists, then you don't go after it. And to Malakye's point about doing, I think doing is always the win. And I just think that there's a way that's a little more comfortable doing it. And what I mean by that is some people want to get burned. They're cool with it. I'm going to get burned. I'm going to learn, and I'm going to just take that, and I'm going to take that. Other people will see someone that they respect, that they believe in what it is they know, and they'll take the tutelage. And if they do, it'll be more like a Mr. Miyagi thing. Sometimes you don't know what someone's trying to teach you because they're just a good teacher. And most of the time it comes from just acknowledging how they've seen someone else learn and acknowledging how you learn. Not what you wanting to be the teacher, but acknowledging how you learn. If you're a visual learner and someone's trying to teach you from a textbook, probably not going to work out all that great. But if they acknowledge that this is the way you learn, and they're demonstrating it to you in a way that you understand, and not just priding themselves on, I said it 50 times versus the one time that you did understand it, I think it goes better. Some people are great at what they do, but they're not good teachers. That's just the way it is. And when a buddy of mine, Rick, always says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I believe that's a true statement. So yeah, very similar.
The teacher.
I imagine there's people out there who, wait, can this hear me?
Yeah, you should be good.
I imagine there's some people out there who have so many skills and they're so smart and they know so many things, but they just haven't been given the opportunity to do something with that. And I kind of just want to call to action to anybody who feels like they're in that position. If you think that you're worth more than whatever you have, whatever is currently you're doing, just go on the internet, go on AI. It's so easy to be able to find information now. Just tell whatever skill set you think you are extremely something really niche. Like, I am really, really, really sewing. Like, you can just go on there, find opportunities somewhere, and make something happen for you. Just like how Nigel and Danny did. They had something that was different about them, and people didn't value it at the time, but that opportunity finally came for them, and it showed up.
Is actually be a teacher, right? So it's not that AI is going to teach humans without human partnership. Right now, we're using AI to support. Eventually, maybe humans will support AI as the primary teacher. Less humans will be involved in the process of teaching, educating, and being generous to all the Padawans out there.
There's a responsibility. If you someone, there's a wonderful feeling that you get inside that actually creates the drive in you when you realize, oh, I just learn something, and it's not just necessarily worth, because it's a little bit that's a little bit bombastic of a reach for me. It's just the fact that you have learned something, and it comes to you, whatever you were doing, whatever trade, whatever it is your passion was, it became sort of not easy, but you got through it. You had all the necessary tools and steps to get something from beginning to, and that empowerment of feeling like now you actually belong to another community,
right,
of someone who can get something. And if you do it enough times, thousands of times, build projects, create projects that you're doing, you, in my heart, can pass that on to your immediate generation at the least, but even more so to reach out to someone you know that can actually grow. I think that you'll find again that second round around the circle of that same feeling that you need something, the same, even 10, having part of those values onto the nether person you towards someone.
and
that's that you change someone's life, and that's the real.
Nothing helps you learn better, teaching somebody else.
Right.
But I'm excited about this conversation today, because this is, we have two global trends happening right now. It's the disruption of technology and AI and blockchain disrupting everything, but also restoring. So, we can't make our stuff anymore. And now reshoring it, and we have to build out this industrial plant.
Mm-hmm.
This is, robots are not going to do it. People are going to have to do this, but they're going to be more.
Sure.
So this is the next, the trend, but this build out is decades long. So
do you remember American Apparel? American Apparel, I believe they were LA based. It was the Dove channel. They just skyrocketed in the 90s. They blew it past the gap, and all the Abercrombie and Fitch. They had hundreds of thousands of stores all over the world. But they kind of run around because the CEO was not very mental. He wasn't a guy going to pass on knowledge of the company. I think the natural thing, it kind of would happen the way that it did with that company, which was a $1 billion company that sort of he was eventually kicked out of was kicked out of the board and stuff like that. So eventually picked back up.
So robots will be building stuff for us, but who's going to build? In the meantime, we have to build the robots and build stuff for us. Okay, and that's the next big trend that's happening. It's going to be humans partnering with these AI tools, but talking about blue collar is the next white collar. Like one of the unexpected consequences of the inclusion, engineers are now having to change careers. It turns out that the robots are very good at programming. They're very good at writing, things like that.
They have efficiency. Humans, we are just worse. If we're in a bad mood, we might not perform as well. If we didn't sleep well, we might not perform as well. If we didn't eat right. There's things that's just physically. Now, how about if you do home? My mind is messed up because of a relationship situation. I'm not going to go into details about that. Or death of family or something like that. That's going to create fluctuations in efficiency. Whatever it is they do. Putting the rope in is just 4-hour day. It's off the chart.
One thing I love your input, Danny, is like, when do you see automation, AI, like addressing housing costs, building costs to the point where we actually see, there's many costs driving the cost of living. The primary one is the cost of housing, and construction expensive. Even the land is free. Building is far more expensive than it was.
The bureaucracy of to do something with permits today is disheartening. To build a home today land. In other words, a tear down and a rebuild. It's right here in our county, about 30,000 up in cost. I mean, just pre-construction, just soil engineering to make sure that the ground that you're building on will take the size you're going to, so you're going to be restricted with all kinds of codes and bureaucracy that happens. And then, so, $30,000 in soft costs before you even get to have an architect.
Are you including all the that 30,000?
The permits, and that's where it'll start. So the more engineering, do an infinity pool that has the shallow end that hangs opening off the side of your mouth. That it's open the checkbook up. At base level, you're going to spend over 30 grand on soft costs before you have it built, and then probably some 10 on your engineers, and you have all the environmentals and stuff that you have to deal with. So what I'm trying to get to is before you even actually a concrete actually see your building, you're in high six-figure numbers, for $100,000, couple hundred grand, putting on the ground.
So that's a challenge to this government. So even if you have an AI solution that makes it streamlined, it's
the codes are what keep everything sort of on the level, because we have inspectors that are third party that are working either with county or independents that come in. The point is there's so much litigation through the all type of areas, not just building and construction. Construction's so dangerous, and the safety codes and things that are implemented now are great, but they cost money to implement. A lot of hard hats, a lot of safety meetings every day, or every day, and these things take time.
Do you see automation in the process?
I see eventually that there's ways to do it. That can be done through Monday through Friday, something that's quick. Maybe you have to do. You go in or see it on your phone. It's the fact that you actually the video played. And maybe
now the AI education and walk you right through it.
Well, I watched today's safety training by putting my YouTube video. Let it play.
No.
They're going to see your eyes are actually watching the video. So here we go. But it's going to streamline. That's just off the top of my head. Imagine, just the involvement of a safety meeting, getting 50 guys into a room. It takes a half hour just to get the time. Before we get coffee, we're having the meeting. An hour gone by, the company, that's 50 times, $100 for the guy spent on drinking coffee.
Yeah.
So, but there's a safety involved, because and this year we'll have some kind of litigation that's change codes more and more stringent. This is why things cost more, because we put more rules and regulations onto.
Well, one of the construction apprenticeships that I'm involved with, that we haven't really, some way we've brought innovations, is with the nonprofit. I told you about that.
Yeah.
So we affordable, accessible housing for a social purpose.
I even saw their video. They have it's over in Silicon Valley, right? They didn't. Okay.
That's one of our.
I remember seeing the video and I was like, wow, I was taken back. This one, this is awesome.
Yeah, and so we build them inside. We have a pilot program, 2 pilot programs. One inside Rancho Cielo, where youth in a trade school is. They're in Soledad prison, where the incarcerated brothers build them, and they get an apprenticeship. So when they graduate out of this, they're like journeymen.
Right.
They're highly
They got a skill to go.
And we're able to build them for below cost, and then address the the inspection. We made them manufactured homes, so that that streamlines the whole inspection process.
Right. Right.
And, and then we're looking at other technology. One of the technologies they were using was an automated saw that comes in a big, like storage container on
Right.
site, and it cut it all up for you. So now there's much less waste.
Of course.
And then it would have a printer involved, so you could basically build it by numbers. They were supposed to leverage that, use volunteers. Yeah. I need volunteers.
Yeah,
That's the prefab buildings that they've done. It's all prefab like that. And another way that you can say,
Just on site of prefab, all the pieces were cut and numbered, and so
the prefab I'm talking about, is you
Okay.
have things that are pre-cut, that are prefab, because usually in younger days, lumber came out in length, 12, 14, 16, whatever feet, and then cut all of your lumber to the lengths of the studs and intervals and whatever you needed. But now that they come out color coded, numbered, box container, to where all we have to do labor wise, in other words, there's a lot less cutting, so there's super efficient. But another way that they can save, or even R3 can, now you have this modular system to figure as a template. Now you can start ordering and saving money by ordering bulk. So, I mean, for instance, I did a real high-end redwood fit redwood job from an insurance job from the CZU fires that we had, and I used a company here that I used for a long time. But we will take a short break. Maybe I'll get back.
Yes. Thanks for joining us here at 8:40 a.m. KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio. We'll be right back after this break.
Our internet. Hopefully the audio is coming through okay, everybody. I hear feedback. You have a speaker on. Why would there be a feedback? That is a super delayed feedback. Is that you, Nigel? Is that on your end? I'm hearing the feedback.
I'm just hearing what I'm hearing on StreamYard because I can mute everything else. Like the Opal's coming in through okay. There's a little static on the other end. I'm gonna just try rebooting, but I don't know that that's if the recording is. I'm not saying anything, so I'm just hearing what I'm hearing. So
Yeah, we'll come back.
Let me reboot real quick.
I'll come right back to you.
Okay.
Okay, testing the audio. Interesting. Getting a. Why would that be? Well, anybody watching this online, we'll be right back with our regular programming. This may be my. So I guess I'll quit talking. I'll come back on in about a minute and a half. Okay,
That is.
Nigel, I think I fixed it. I think I had YouTube playing on the computer on accident. Sorry, everybody.
That sounds good.
That's the problem with the audio. Here we go. I'm laughing at myself.
Oh, that's okay. I thought you were looking at me and saying, "Hey, ha
Ha ha ha. Welcome back to 1340 AM. KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio. We're over here laughing during our commercial break. So we're going to talk a bit about the future of how AI, crypto, blockchain, automation can impact education and apprenticeship. As we transition, let me just mention some cool things happening in Santa Cruz. There's such a great conversation. I didn't jump in with any of the new news, but there's something that actually got picked up in Santa Cruz by over a dozen publications. So this is serious enough to get mass awareness. The Santa Cruz County Office of Education has just shown that they boosted engagement 20% by integrating teachers with AI tools for personalized student learning for K through 12. So that's a pretty big deal.
finally, that's our county."
That's our county. Yeah, it got picked up by a dozen different news outlets. It just happened, I believe, this morning. Because the 20%,
What they mean by that, as in they
They're-
are starting the process, or as in it's already in schools.
well, the Santa Cruz County Office of Education has been hosting AI think tanks. The point was to empower teachers to integrate AI for personalized student learning. And this guideline that's being rolled out in the classroom, it looks like they have a 20% engagement boost from whatever test that they had done. On another apprenticeship front, there's a local dental apprenticeship program that just won a county award.
The one in Watsonville.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Dientes.
saw that. Dientes, yeah.
Yeah, so it uses AI tools for hands-on training, prepping youth for healthcare careers with real-time skill tracking. So this is just our little tiny county and our little tiny speck in the world that is doing some pretty cool things right now. So
Yeah,
definitely
it's good to see
encouraging in that regard.
It's good to see that these kinds of things are getting down to a local level now, which is really where everything starts.
So let's talk a bit about vision. I mean, there's unlimited amounts of news, and we will oftentimes cover news when we do our first segment. But I think one of the reasons why anybody would want to tune in and kind of lean in is where's this going, right? Where's this going next month? Where's this going next year? Where's this going maybe even in the next decade? Things of that nature. Because right now what's happening is that because of AI and because of crypto, there's an ability for people in apprenticeship programs to actually make a living while they're doing apprenticeships. It wasn't that long ago that internships you did for free. Now most interns get paid minimum wage. Now people are even making a living just going through their apprenticeship program because a human that's willing to show up on time for work with a good attitude, give their best effort, they have a reasonable aptitude socially and intelligently, and they're using AI to apply themselves to something, they probably bring value. And even through the apprenticeship program, there are young people and older people looking at a second career that are actually making a great living because of this very thing. So Nigel, I want to jump over to you. You're in the future, 3 hours ahead of us. So let's ask you, what are you envisioning for apprenticeship? What are you envisioning for education in a month, in a year, in a decade? What are your thoughts in this regard?
No.
I think everybody has the best opportunity ever, and I mean everybody. That might not be the most popular opinion, but I believe everybody has it if they just go out and look at the things that they're interested in. I think once you get over the what's the word I'm looking for? It's not intuitive. The unintuitive way of interacting with AI, and I'll give you a real life example. Hopefully that it makes it a bit more concrete. It took me a while to get comfortable with just, let's say, going on to Bing Copilot and just saying, well, these are the things I'm trying to do. Here's where my thoughts at now. Give me a framework or put together something that helps me to understand all of this, and then put it in an organized form where it can make sense to me. That was not something that was that came natural. I've always been more of a doer rather than necessarily an office person, even though I was in the office a lot, but dealing with technology and always, being the person who's sitting in front of the $10 million a year trader, and having to fix, machines, software, hardware, whatever the case may be, whatever the situation called for, I was always more hands-on with it than off, writing reports and what have you. I think the two have kind of harmonized a bit, but ultimately, I think it takes some practice, some openness to get to the point where you start asking these questions and realizing that the results are possible. And I think once we get past that, the future is really bright. I think you can learn anything. I think nothing is really hidden from you that much. I think it can be in the future because they're limiting the amount that you can actually research. But right now, I wouldn't say the field is wide open, not like it was 2 years ago, but it's definitely open if you're willing to pursue it and not be discouraged by what you see as results that might not be the easy way. So those are my thoughts, but I think it's a wide open field and people can really jump in there and do some great things.
Yeah, we appreciate those insights. One of the things that ChatGPT gave a vision for a year from now is AI intern bots entering firms. So entry-level apprenticeship bots, amplifying white-collar productivity, automating routine analysis while humans innovate. There's all these ways of looking at things. We can look at things like the AI is going to take our jobs, or we can look at things and say the AI is going to make humans so much better at their jobs, or allow humans to do the things that they're most interested in, or both.
I think that's seems to be everything.
Can I jump in on something really quick?
Yeah, please, Nigel, jump on in.
Okay, I found myself always looking at best and worst case scenarios because I don't think anything is truly one way. So one best case scenario is that you do get the bots in and people are responsible for training their bots, and just like a handy assistant saying what you want and being specific about the details and then getting those details. And that becomes a nice working harmony, like many people share when they have a good working relationship with somebody. Now, the flip side of that is folks who think it's magic and think that technology works all the time, and they're going to get an intern bot and they're going to think that that's going to replace a human and this is way better. And you're going to get humans that will probably do things that will make that bot not work. Because if there's one thing that humans do really well is we break stuff, whether it's accidental or on purpose. But those are the two diametrically opposite pieces of the spectrum as I see it. For whatever that's worth.
Don't we always need to remember that we are going to constantly, think of the airplane. Wright brothers in the biplane. I mean, they fly like 18 miles an hour or something at Kitty Hawk. Just off. Yeah, 200 yards, but it still was the flight, so it counts and everything. But all the way to Chuck Yeager breaking the sound barrier, to the space shuttle going to space, to triple times the speed of sound in some of our high altitude airplanes and stuff like that. So it's a growth, and then from biplane to the fastest planes that we have now is thinking of it the same thing as in a digital age or as an AI movement that we have going. It's a growth thing. Once Brock gets done with their Tennessee facility, and Altman finishes up his Abilene, Texas facility, we're really going to see things start to move and shake, in this fast moving. I really think that's when Web3 is really going to start kicking in, because that's when we'll be able to start handling some of the traffic things too.
Isn't it amazing that the Wright brothers made the first plane, I guess, and then just a short period of time right after, all of a sudden we're sending rockets into space because we had this necessity for it.
Yeah, we're doing less than 200 years. It's really over 100 years. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
So imagine that in 100. What's going to happen in another? And not only that, we have the capability of moving at increasing speeds now because the technology is behind it. So super chips, quantum computing. These things are going to start happening as soon as these facilities are done. And also, everybody start using your product as much as you can. There's a lot of free stuff. I just want to throw out there real quick. The throttling is happening. I see it as I look through the different AIs and stuff. If you're on a free use, if you're paying a purchase subscription, That's fine. Those things will change too, but you're paying for the performance, and that's what we want. You know, that's what they are going to want also, who are providing the services, and it has to be because they're building huge facilities that are billions of dollars and trillions of dollars, you know, both together. So these things will have to be subsidized, you know, one way or another. So point of view is use it as much as you can now because it's as free as it's going to get, and the throttling will start happening and pushing either towards active subscriptions.
Dad, do you think that AI is going to get to a point where the big companies are going to start deciding that, yeah, people are going to have to pay? Or do you think it's kind of going to stay the way that it is, which I'm kind of surprised how many of them are free to quite a large extent.
So nothing's free.
I mean, they pay back the money that you know, $500 billion for a facility. That was a dedicated amount that's been promised, and hooray for USA to do that, to be at the forefront. You know,
There's been big delays on that though.
Tip of the spear.
So there's nothing that's free, right? So when you look at the Web 2 world of Facebook, of Instagram, of LinkedIn, of YouTube, of these different platforms that gave us all this abundance of education information, and, you know, apprenticeship information, just entertainment, escapism, etc.
Mhm.
Nothing was free because they used our data, and that's how they made money. And even though they only made $5 a month or $5 a year off of a human, when you calculate billions of people, it really made an impact. And so they provided their technology to us under these very oppressive terms and conditions. And so it was never free. Now, one thing I really enjoy.
Ian, how big is the advertising industry in the Web 2 industry, in the Web 2 world? I mean, they spend.
It's probably,
they spend more money
it's
on commercials
hundreds of
today.
billions of dollars.
You know what I mean? Nigel, didn't you just say the other day that you read something? A movie was made for $180 million, and they spent $100 million on the advertisement for
Well,
it.
that's normal for a blockbuster movie.
Think about that.
The advertising is about.
So
Yeah, that was the Marvel superhero movie.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Nigel.
I forgot the name of it. It's the one with the superheroes that are not superheroes. They're like the throwaway
The Avengers
guys.
2.
No. It was
The Thunderbolts.
the Thunderbolts. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
Walmart
it's supposed to
Studios.
have lost money because it had, you know, it would cost so
Too
much
much
to make.
advertising.
Right, and the thing is, the stars weren't paid. Like, I think the highest paid star was still only like 8 figures. It wasn't like
Right. It wasn't some sort of crazy.
like 100 million. But the point is, just to be spending that kind of money on advertising, $100+ million on advertising, and 250 million on a movie, like it you start to wonder, how do you make money if you don't have like massive amounts of money, you know? And is
So
it always going to be against
Oh, so-
the team?
When we talk about the future of education and apprenticeship, there's two really important words that people need to wrap their head around if you're going to cast a vision of the future. One is the word scarcity, and the other is the word abundance. So it wasn't that long ago that we had scarcity of apprenticeship opportunities, and we had scarcity of high quality education. It was scarce. And the majority of humans across the world, the 7-8 billion of us, they had no access to the internet. They had no access to high quality education, no access to apprenticeship or good jobs. It was scarce. There was a lack of abundance. Today, we are now entering a time where there's an abundance of educational material, an abundance of apprenticeship opportunities, of internship opportunities, and of opportunities even for people as young as Kenton, your 12-year-old brother Malakye, to be able to go and basically learn something through AI, educate himself, and then be able to spin up a revenue stream through social media. So if we wrap our head around a post-scarce world, a world where things like education, apprenticeship, where things like energy, things like food, things like housing are post-scarce and fully in the abundant phase, when we have more energy than we need. We have more Teslas driving humans around than we need. We have more high quality, organic, healthy food than can be eaten. When we have an abundance of what humans desire, how does that change the way that we envision a future? Because if our vision for the future is potentially Terminator, then it's very hard to imagine a wonderful outcome that you then start to drive culture toward. We could have this for education, we could have this for apprenticeship. But if you have a post-scarce and overly abundant view of a potential future, if that's even potentially possible, then all of a sudden it becomes much easier to think through exciting things of what could be. I asked Grok, hey, what do you think could happen the next decade? And it said that ecosystems that leverage both AI and Web3 should likely birth smart mentorship networks. So Grok predicts that there'll be personalized lifelong learning. It will cut skill gaps by over 50%. It will unite diverse souls in borderless apprenticeships that ripple through family legacies. This is the type of thing that we want AI to think is possible. Like when we ask Grok, hey, what's something awesome that can happen for apprenticeship and education next 10 years? We definitely want an answer like that. Now, granted, this is my version of Grok that's personalized to me. I'm an optimistic guy. So
I'm going to say, you're going to have a hard time cheating you down, brother.
No, I love what you're saying and putting this, like we have shifted from higher education and knowledge being a scarce resource to being a abundant resource. It's that way already. Like for free from Africa, if you have an internet connection and a smartphone, you can access more knowledge than Bill Clinton had access to. You can learn it. You can learn from the best professors in the world for free. It's out there. It's available. Okay. That's a shift that we're getting used to.
What a
But
crazy fact.
One thing I love your feedback on it, and I think this is an interesting issue to think through. Food abundance. We've been living in a world of food abundance for decades now. We have, and you look at I think this is probably the last 50 years or so, where we've had easily able to produce more calories than human beings need. Okay, and we are
not you. You're the specimen, bro. You need more calories than the whole world's ever created.
When you had like the devastating, I remember, Sade's song about the famine in Africa and Somalia. Okay, in Somalia, when they're having this horrible famine,
right?
When the journalists went down there was abundant food in the capitals. The issue was the food was not getting to
distribution.
People. It was distribution. And then it's politics and power and all these controls. So we've had abundant food, but we still have scarcity where it's needed. And even we still have food insecurity. And now we have obesity because unhealthy calories are cheaper than healthy calories, not because healthy calories are not abundant and available. It's again,
the cost of them.
The cost of them, and also we subsidize unhealthy calories.
And we don't want to get too far off the subject matter, but obviously you can go down conspiracy theory rabbits, which men conspire and weird things happen just because of economics. So, the healthcare industry is kind of dependent upon poor nutrition. So, one thing leads to another. All of a sudden you have an ecosystem by which poor nutrition is the norm, because that maintains a $1 trillion industry called the healthcare industry. And it also maintains the need for insurance. And I'm not, taking a big stretch here. This is just things that are reality. So you have to be mindful. So how does post-scarcity and, the ability for transparency and mutability through Web3, the ability to know what's happening and how to distribute things, if we let AI do food distribution on behalf of those that are most impoverished, how does that change things? And if we educate people, if we provide education that's allowing people to really know what's going on. We have about a minute and a half left before we say goodbye for the day and come back tomorrow. That's true. So Nigel, any final thoughts on the glory that could pound the education and apprenticeship industry like a tidal wave of automation? Any final thoughts from you?
I'm going to leave it with something that I think is familiar to at least a fair amount of people. That's Star Trek. And I was thinking about this about a month ago. You think about a starship and how people live there. They have uniforms. They function in what it is they do for the greater good. That's all they have. They have the holodeck. They entertain themselves, whatever the prepackaged food is, but it's working towards the greater good. And I remember a conversation we were having when we were in the Philippines at the conference the Web3 AI conference, and we were talking about how people, they make all this money, and then they come right back full circle to I need to do something better for humanity. And I think the more we lean into that and, nurture the extremes, dare I say, the people who have the vision to be bold enough to do something else, and the people who, not move against it, but say, how do we do this responsibly? And then having either mediators or harmony in between to sensibly make a respectful conversation and something that's greater than the sum of the parts.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow, 13:40 a.m. KOMY Home of Schoolhouse Radio.
That was a really enjoyable conversation.
Yeah, that was good.
All right, party people. Thank you for joining us there in Internet Land. We'll be back again tomorrow.